Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today I'm going to be showing you some new GXs, or to be specific, a new GX in this video. Maybe we'll have another one fairly shortly as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Alolan Ninetales is coming. And you might be thinking, hang on a second, Wassy. We've already had an Alolan Ninetales. Well, yes, we have. But we haven't had a fairy one. And just to be clear, I told you months ago this was coming. We know that Japan is having a mini set, Fairy Rise. On the booster pack, we can see Mimikyu, Alolan Ninetales, and Xerneas. We are getting GXs of all three of these in the set. That's not a particularly controversial statement. It's clearly, definitely happening. If we have a quick look at the booster pack from Thunderclap Spark, at least the first kind of dummy one, you will see that there are images of Genesect, Virizion, and Makago, all three of which have been confirmed as coming out as GXs in Thunderclap Spark. Long story short, I told you this was coming, and you should have been expecting it. We're going to see Mimikyu GX very shortly, and I feel very confident that there will be a Xerneas GX in the set. Might be a reprint, I reckon it will be a new one, but it could well be a reprint, because of course we do already have a Fairy type Xerneas GX. Now, in terms of when this will be released in the UK, we don't know. My guess is that it is going to be a mini set, because it's a fairy set in the same way that Dragon Majesty is a dragon set. I think we're going to get a mini set like Dragon Majesty, but the reality is we are going to have to wait and see. So what does it actually do? Well, the good news is it's a fairy Pokemon, which means that you are hitting weakness against Pokemon like Rayquaza and Ultra Necrozma, which is pretty gosh darned relevant right about now. And you've got a resistance to darkness, which is great, because it's resistant to Zoroark, which is awesome. Having said that, with a full bench, Zoroark will hit for 120, reduced to 100 with resistance, which will actually still get a 2-hit KO, so maybe it's not all that great. 200 HP is about right for a Stage 1 GX. It's there with stuff like Sylveon on the slightly lower end, because obviously Zoroark's got 210, but 200, 210 is about what we would expect. And the retreat cost of 2 kind of sucks, because you cannot use Escape Board after rotation. And annoyingly, Fairy Garden will also have rotated, so there go your free retreating options. So the basics are looking fairly good. What does it do? Well, our translation today comes from the lovely David Hochmann, who also, because the original picture running around of this was very low quality, such that people were unsure of the translation, David sent me a message a little while ago saying, "Hey Ross, I assume you're going to do a video about this. Have a higher quality image." And so he sent us the image and he gave us a translation, because as we all know, David Hochmann is a lovely man. And the ability is pretty good. Once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may search your deck for 2 item cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. You just get to go and grab any 2 item cards and get them out straight away. And I believe we did a rumor about this a little while ago, which has now proven to be true. It's a nice ability. Now, it's a one-shot ability, but it gets you any 2 items you like, and you get them with an ability, which means you get them now. So we looked the other day at Alolan Raticate, which goes and gets 6 items from your deck, but it does so as an attack, GX attack at that, which means your opponent can just go and play something like a Judge, and then all of a sudden, oh no, now you don't have this anymore. Well, the great news is your opponent cannot just get rid of them from your hand by shuffling your hand, because this is an ability. So you get those item cards and you get to use them right now. And of course, you could do something cheeky like use the ability to grab an Ultra Ball, and then use the Ultra Ball to grab a second Alolan Ninetales and get another 2 item cards. And this is great. You can go and get yourself a Choice Band, so you can do that little bit of extra damage. Or you could play something like a Peking Red card, just as kind of a one-off, and then you can guarantee to find it at the perfect turn to try and cause a little bit of disruption to your opponent. Or you can grab yourself an escape rope to force your opponent to switch their active Pokemon, because they might be in the position where actually switching their active Pokemon would be, to put it bluntly, less than ideal. There are two great things about this. Firstly, it gives you that extra layer of consistency. Searching for something like an Ultra Ball, for instance, or whatever it might be, just to get yourself set up a little bit better. Or even like a choice band. But the other thing is here, you can play these random one-off item cards, so peeking red card forces your opponent to shuffle their hand into their deck and draw a new hand. Well, you might know they've got a new hand. Maybe they used Alolan Raticate last turn. Or maybe they used Metagross last turn. Okay, they get the same number of cards, but they don't get the exact same cards. And you can play these one-offs knowing that you can draw into it. This essentially is an ability that says, hey, that item card you want, you are going to have it. That makes it brilliant, and it will be good, and it will see a fair amount of play. But only if the attacks are good. Now the main attack here, 1 fairy, 1 colourless energy. You get to do 70 to the active and 30 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It is very much like the Night Spear that we saw from Darkrai all that time ago. Now to be fair, Darkrai did 90 to the active, 30 to the bench. But the good news for you is, Yitz is for a fairy colourless, not for 2 dark and a colourless. Having said that, Darkrai had Dark Patch back in the day, so maybe Darkrai was still a slightly better attack. But you've got the ability, which, as we've discussed, is great. And the numbers here do work quite nicely. So 70 isn't amazing, but if you had a choice band on here, then all of a sudden you're hitting up 100, and 2 attacks with this are going to hit 200. So something like a Lycanroc, for instance, will be 2-hit KO'd here. Now the bad news is you've got to have a choice band on both of the hits in order to use it. But the good news is you can have a choice band whenever you want it, because the ability helps you to search it out, which is awesome. And then let's say, for argument's sake, you hit for 100 twice, but you've also hit for 30 on the bench. Great news. Now you're hitting 230 and something like a Gardevoir is being KO'd. Or maybe your opponent's got a 60 HP Zorua on the bench. You get to basically hit them for 30, and you're putting them in that awkward position now where you're saying, look, either you evolve that Pokemon next turn, or I'm getting a cheeky KO. They may have 1 Ultra Ball in their hand and not want to search for that. They might want a different Pokemon, but they have no choice, because otherwise they're giving up a prize. And we talked about this when we talked about the difference between Tapu Koko and Latios. 30 to the bench is a lot better than 20. It 2-hit KOs stuff like Zorua. It's awesome. Doing 30 to the bench here is absolutely great. It is a little bit underpowered compared to something like Darkrai, and you're really relying on having Choice Band to get 2-hit KOs here. But you've got the bench damage, you're doing decent damage, and it is only for 2 energy here, which is really quite nice. Now the bad news is, being a GX, you can't use counter energy, because you're a GX. But you can use counter gain here. This is the new tool coming out whereby if you're behind on prizes, your attacks cost 1 energy less. And let's not forget that your ability says you can find this as soon as you evolve up here. If you're not behind on prizes, grab a choice band and get your energy going the old-fashioned way. If you are behind on prizes, you can evolve up, search for this, and get rolling. Yes, you lose the extra damage from Choice Band, but you get this rolling for what is essentially a single energy, and then next turn you can add that second energy, just in case you're not behind on prizes anymore. Otherwise, you could go the old-fashioned route to accelerate the energy here. Or you could use something like a Gardevoir, for instance. Or you could use Macargo with the ability to discard the top card of your deck if it's a basic energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon. And maybe even combine it with the other Macargo we're getting, that's a reprint of the one with the ability that lets you put any card on top of your deck. Maybe Gardevoir's too much of a pain. Bit of an issue. Maybe Macargo's too much of a pain. Don't forget we've got the amazing Water-type Alolan Vulpix here, which for 0 energy lets you search for any 2 Pokemon. So what you could do is Aqua Patch before you evolve. Annoyingly, you wouldn't be able to search it out because you evolve to search it out, and you got to have it before you evolve. But you could play a mixture of Fairy and Water Energy here, an Aqua Patch, and then evolve. And all of these are a bit awkward. Gardevoir's a stage 2, Macago's a stage 1, Aqua Patch is a bit clunky. We don't have an amazing way to get the energy on here. It is only 2 energy. It's manageable, it's a decent attack. But the best attack here is the GX attack. 1 Fairy, 1 colorless energy. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an Ultra Beast, it is knocked out. This is pretty gosh darn nice, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it doesn't really matter against Ultra Necrozma because you're hitting for weakness anyway. Choice Band, you get a 1-hit KO. But against something like a Buzzwole or a Duskmane Necrozma, you can get a very easy 1-hit KO here without having to worry about how much health they've got. I forgot to mention earlier that you are weak to Metal Pokemon. Now, Duskmane Necrozma, to be honest, is either one hitting you or they're not. Although, to be honest, with a Choice Band and a single Down Mize, they can get a 1-hit KO for free energy, but no one's really playing Down Mize in that. But here you just get an easy 1-hit KO. And okay, the main attack here is slightly underwhelming, I will give you that. And the 2 energy is not the easiest to get on, but at the end of the day, it is only 2 energy. But when you combine the ability, which is great for consistency or playing one-off tricks, with the GX attack that gets an instant KO on a GX, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? This seems like a pretty gosh darn good Pokemon to me. And then, of course, don't forget we've got the really good Alolan Vulpix from which it evolves, and we've got the other Alolan Ninetales we can pair, same evolution line, and we've got the other Alolan Ninetales we can use, same evolution line. So you could make a nice tricky little deck here. Even if the main attack isn't quite good enough, for the GX attack and the ability alone here, this has got to be worth a look. It is a shame Professor's Letter is rotating out, because you could have done something fun like just play a Counter Gain, a Professor's Letter, and 1 Fairy energy, evolve up, grab the Professor's Letter for the energy, grab the Counter Gain, and then all of a sudden, even though you're not playing a Fairy deck, you've got it rolling. It gets an instant KO on any Ultra Beast. That's great. It's got an ability that grabs any 2 item cards. That's great. The main attack is alright. This is a 4 Wassy card, and that might end up looking a little bit misery on my behalf, but there is a lot of potential here. Anytime you can get an instant 1-hit KO on most of the best Pokemon in the format, while hitting a good weakness, while having a great ability, yeah. That's a Pokemon to consider. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about Alolan Ninetales, the Fairy one, or the Water one, I suppose, in the comment section. Go nuts, but be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, then head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.